Ooh, recording. Okay.
Ooh,
Welcome to season 2, episode 1 of the Poverty Franchise podcast. For those of you who are listening and don't have any visuals, hello. You'll be able to watch any prior episodes on our YouTube, which will be linked in the bio of our Instagram. Everything is under the same name, Poverty Franchise Podcast on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anything that exists. Pretty much we're on there.
Linktree should have all of them linked.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's where you want to go. For those of you who are on video, same old, same look, the classic. You can't go wrong with that, but sometimes you want to be able to listen to your podcast on the go. And that's kind of the point of podcasts. They're not a TV show. You kind of want to listen to them on the go. So we got there eventually. It just took us a little bit. My name's Khalil.
and I'm Ethan.
And yeah, season 2, episode 1. Hopefully we can, get off to a good start. And, with that being the case, I want to talk about like a personal thing. Do you do New Year's resolutions? Is that something you do like in your personal life?
Um, no, because I don't really see a point in those like New Year resolutions. Like, why do you have to wait until a new
For the new
year
year? That's
to
real. That's
change?
real.
Like, just start
Do it
now or
whenever.
something. Like that's what I'm about.
Real.
Huh?
I know some people like, are like that where they're more like just like if you have a goal, just set it. But I
Yeah.
think like New Year's resolutions are like, or everyone looks at a new year as like a new start. When honestly,
Mhm.
if you want a new start, it could be, next week or, next month,
Tomorrow. Who
tomorrow.
knows?
Right? Every
Yeah.
day is a new start, obviously. But with the theme of New Year's resolutions, which everyone makes, every single year, it seems like we both had 5 teams, NBA teams who we want to give, New Year's resolutions to. Obviously, this episode is definitely going to be more focused on football, so we still want to give the NBA a little bit of shine before we get into the, the main, the nitty gritty of the episode, if you will. Um, do you want to go first, or should I go first? And we both know each other's
Let's
teams, so that's going to be
let's
fun.
just alternate.
Okay. You go
So
first.
yeah, for the first one, the Bulls, they
Okay.
need ball. They need the ball back. You
Need the
know,
ball back.
Lonzo Ball.
Oh yeah, they do. That is very
They
true.
need the ball back.
They just
It's a
been
little
that team was
funny.
actually so good last year before Lonzo had got hurt. I
Mhm.
think they were the 1 seed for a bit.
They were the one seed for a bit.
Yeah, and then they Lonzo had got hurt, and then I think Zach LaVine was dealing with
Zach.
injury, which he deals with
And
every.
Caruso at one point.
Yeah, Caruso. The only person who I think was relatively healthy, and you can check me on this, is DeMar DeRozan.
Damar.
I
It's
think
Damar.
DeMar was relatively healthy, if I remember correctly.
No, because there was like a span, like a week, where bro just hit two back to backs,
Yeah,
like, not back to backs, 2 game winners back to back,
he was like
and
playing like an MVP.
yeah,
Let's see. I'm trying
he
to
was
make
just
sure he played
carrying
a
them. Pretty
relatively
sure.
good amount of games last year. Last year he played. Let's see, ESPN. Come on now.
I'm pretty sure he did.
He was pretty healthy last year. I don't remember DeMar DeRozan missing very many games last year. Last year he played 76. He was extremely healthy actually. He missed 6 games. So yeah, DeMar DeRozan was around. Everyone else really wasn't. Zach LaVine has consistently
Yeah,
not been that healthy. He's been someone who plays around like 52, 65-ish games. He's never someone who really plays over 70. I don't know if that's because of his like it's probably because of his above the rim kind of play style.
hmm
Uh, I don't know, but he's just always injured or like dealing with it.
yeah. I don't know.
Lonzo was kind of more of like a out of nowhere thing. And then Caruso was obviously a foul thing. But yeah, definitely they need Lonzo Ball back if they want to contend this year. Because I think if I like remember the standings correctly, they're not in the play-in at the moment or the
They're
playoff.
like 10 or 12.
Yeah,
It's
they're like
something.
they might barely be
Yeah,
in the play-in, but they're really not doing that well at
yeah.
all. And they just lost to the Cavaliers a couple, I think yesterday, and Donovan
But the
Mitchell
one where Don
70.
dropped like
Yeah,
70. Yeah.
yeah. So I think they would benefit from Lonzo Ball if
Mhm.
uh
The like it's for my New Year resolutions for the teams. It's basic. A lot of them are like health concerns.
yeah,
But
then I
then
think
like for the Bulls, it's like their health and either that or they just blow it all up because
they
they're
have
not
to
better
make a
than yeah.
they have to make a choice. Like they're one of
Mhm.
those weird teams where it's like you guys clearly aren't going to win the finals. You guys probably won't even win a first round series. Yet you guys
Yeah.
still want to hold on to all these assets. It's like them And I'll say my team that I have for a similar reason is the Washington Wizards, who I said
Mhm.
their New Year's resolution is to be more decisive, because they're like the epitome of mediocre. Like, you know, you have Bradley Beal, who's you could say 20 to 30 range when it comes to like where you put him amongst NBA, players. I don't know if anyone really has him higher than 20. That'd be kind of crazy, but and even 20 is a bit of a stretch, but we'll say
Yeah.
25 to 30 range. Then you get Kristaps Porzingis, who's, a little below that, but those are two, if they're playing at their best, all-star, not starters, but all-stars. And then, you know, you have Kyle Kuzma who's playing really well. You
He's
have
playing extremely well this season.
yeah, he's averaging 21, I'm pretty sure.
I have him
Monte
on my
Morris,
fantasy team.
who's like a quality role player. You got some guys, and then you guys are consistently bad. So you're drafting in the like not bad. You're not like magic bad, but you're just like not good.
Mediocre.
You're
Yeah.
like stuck in you're in the lottery every year, but you're not, in the conversation to get Victor Wembanyama. You're not in the conversation to get Cade Cunningham, Zion Williamson. They haven't got any of those guys. And when you look at who the Wizards have drafted recently, they drafted Johnny Davis this year, who has not been good at all. Last year, I don't even remember who they drafted, but I know they've drafted Roy Hachimura, who had a lot of hype, Denny Advia, who had a lot of hype, um, Corey Kisper, who didn't necessarily have the most hype, but hasn't really panned out to be anything special. And they just consistently haven't really drafted well. And it's not even to say necessarily that they haven't drafted well, because I think, especially with Roy and Denny, those were good draft picks in the time being. Obviously, when you look back on it, you're gonna be like, nah, you guys should have took this guy.
Yeah. I
But
mean, that's easy to say in the hindsight because
right.
you see who else is in that class.
Yeah, maybe the issue isn't necessarily their drafting ability, it's their development ability, and they just
Mhm.
aren't able to, develop the talent they have. But it also doesn't help when, you draft a guard, and obviously the
You,
best way to develop a guard is to give them the ball and let them, figure it out.
mhm.
And then you also have Bradley Beal. So it's kind of like,
Yeah. I don't really see eye to eye with that Johnny Davis draft because I, I wasn't a big fan of him in the first place. I
yeah,
don't really see why they picked him. Obviously, I'll never know, but
yeah,
it's kind of just there.
yeah. And
It's
another
weird.
big thing with the Wizards too, is the Bradley Beal contract. Horrific. He's on. I think he's going to be one of the highest paid player in the league, or one
Mhm.
of at least in the top five. And he also has a no trade clause. So
Oh,
if they're just like, this isn't working out, we're gonna trade you to Memphis, and he doesn't want to go to Memphis, he's not going to Memphis. The contract is already hard enough to trade as is, and besides the fact that you have to find a team that has the money to even take on the contract, you have to trade him to a team that Bradley Beal also wants to go to. So it's kind of like he's an immovable asset at this point. The only team that I think would trade for him, because they're insane and they do stuff like this all the time, is the Lakers. They're the only team I can think of who would be like, you know, third star, he scores, bring
that
him back.
takes yeah, that takes me into my second team though, the Lakers.
I have the Lakers as
Yeah.
well. So tell me what you have for them, because I have one for them
So
too.
AD needs to come back, or they need to trade for someone, or blow it all up because they have no picks, they have no future. They have LeBron, they're just wasting LeBron, and they obviously want to win a chip, right?
Right.
They don't have the assets to win a chip.
They're in like the worst situation imaginable, and I think my New Year's resolution relates to more so how they got in that situation. I put
Mhm.
their New Year's resolution as be more patient,
Mhm.
because if we're being real, obviously they shouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. We had
Yeah.
the bubble year where they won, and then the next year I remember they brought in a bunch of really good guys who, on paper, I was like, the Lakers are winning this championship. They brought in Marcus Gasol, Montrezl
No,
Harrell.
that was the year where they brought everyone that was old.
Yeah, they brought in a bunch of older
Yeah.
dudes, but we were all like,
Yeah.
these are
Mello. Yeah.
everyone
All
was like,
the
these are good guys. These are like guys who can still contribute. And then it didn't work out. And then they were like, you know what? This didn't work out, so let's trade for Russ. And
yeah, the reasoning why they didn't have that is because they didn't have shooting. And
yeah,
then they fixed that issue with getting Russ.
yeah, it's like, you guys could have been more patient and waited things out. Also, you got to remember about that Lakers year before last year. LeBron was hurt. He rolled his ankle against Atlanta in that one game, and that was a big deal because he was out for a lot of games. AD missed time as he does most a lot of the time. Um, and they still made the playoffs, mind you. And not only did they make the playoffs, they played the Phoenix Suns in the first round and took them to 6 games. They beat a quality, like arguably the best team in the league the last 2 years, in a playoff situation, and they won multiple games, and then they were just like, nah, scratch it. We're gonna just start over.
Their bubble team was the best team that they've assembled.
Perfectly, like if
Yeah.
you're gonna build a LeBron team, that's like the perfect LeBron team. You get a big man who can defend the rim, who has like the ability to score on all three levels. You got Danny Green, KCP, two shooters who can play some defense. Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Rajon
They have Pat
Rondo.
Bev?
They didn't have Pat Bev. No, no, no.
Oh,
Who else did they have on that team? It was just a really solid team of like solid dudes. They still had Kuzma, who hit a game
yeah.
against Denver in the bubble. I don't know if you remember that. Um, but yeah, they had a good squad, and they're just like, nah, let's just hurry up and let's do something. No, let's just blow it up. Also, besides that, before they even traded for Anthony Davis, obviously, if you have a championship or a chance to win a championship, take a shot at it.
Yeah.
But when you look at what they traded up, Lonzo, what I believe turned into the number 6 pick in the draft. They traded away Brandon Ingram. They traded away Josh Hart, who hasn't, out of the 3 that they traded to New Orleans, Josh Hart has been the one who's panned out the least. But Josh Hart is still a very solid role player. They traded away Julius Randle. They traded away D'Angelo Russell. Those are all guys who have done something since they've left, and that's not a coincidence. There's no reason that a bunch of guys who leave LA turn out to be good.
It's the development
And the
and,
pressure,
as you said, patience.
the
Yeah.
pressure. And it's not even that the Lakers can't draft. They're actually a very good drafting team. I mean, when you get Kyle Kuzma in the late first round or early second, I don't remember which one it was, that's a really good pick. Kyle Kuzma has been very good so far. And when it was Kyle Kuzma's rookie season, there were discussions about him being better than Jason Tatum. So, like, that was a very good pick. Obviously, he didn't turn out being better than Jason Tatum, but he's a very good player. Julius Randle, Julius Randle's been kind of up and down. He had a really good season a couple years ago, and then ever since he's kind of been in a really weird spot with New York, but he's still a very
Injuries.
player, injuries, things like that. Brandon Ingram has been an all-star, and he's done nothing but get better since he's left. Lonzo, he's figured some things out. Josh Hart found his way to be a solid role player.
Basically, they've all developed
Yeah.
into quality players, except Josh Hart, but he's still pretty good.
Good job. It's solid. And then D'Angelo Russell went to Brooklyn, led them to the playoffs a year, then went to Golden State. Things didn't work out in Minnesota. He's been kind of all right, but he's still, better than most of the guys they have not named Anthony Davis or LeBron James. So, you got to, at some point, you got to see it through. Certain guys, you got to give a little bit of time. And clearly, the Lakers struggle to do that. On to the third. I'll go
You
with
can
the
go
Celtics.
first.
Celtics
Okay.
are probably my least interesting one.
Mhm.
For me, I just put play up to the Celtics standards. Celtics started off the season really hot, were the best team in basketball, and there's been some games as of recently where they just have not played, up to expectations. Biggest example, allowing 150 points to the Oklahoma City Thunder with no Shea
Yeah.
Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know how that happens. There's just been games where, they should just dominate. I watched them play against Denver a few days ago, or I think last week, actually.
Did that one go into OT?
It didn't go into OT, but there was a very long
a different game.
stop because I think, who was it? Robert Williams dunked on the rim, and then the rim got like put off kilter. So the game got stopped for like 10 minutes because they were trying to re-straighten out the rim. And Boston had momentum before that happened. And then obviously when you take a 10-minute break in the middle of a game, you're a little stiff. And obviously Denver, ran away with it.
Yeah.
But there was just a lot of missed opportunities in that game. And Boston's not playing at the moment like a team that I'm no doubt taking over any team. But then again, we did see on that same day Milwaukee lose by like 30 to the Wizards. So it's been a lot.
I mean, to be fair though, Tatum's been doing his thing. He's been putting up 30 like consistently. MVP candidate type numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's just overall as a team, they need to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And play
up to Celtic standards. Like there's no reason you should be losing to the Thunder on any night. Even if they had Shea, you shouldn't lose to the Thunder, and you lost to the Thunder without Shea, and you allowed.
No, you should lose. You should lose.
I mean, if you lose to
Shea, he's a
Shea,
top point guard in the NBA. He's a top point guard in the NBA.
If you lose to Shea, I would be like, okay, Shea probably dropped like 40 or something. I get it. But like without Shea, Josh Giddey, very good player. But come on now, Josh Giddey is not beating Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams.
Well, he did.
Like He did it that one night. Only time this can ever happen in NBA history. Who's your third?
My third's the Warriors, and
Okay.
theirs is to develop the young talent. Example, Kaminga, bro's he's been wonky in the preseason. He's still pretty wonky now, and it's just developing the younger people because Poole's consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
There's no baddies on the court.
He has his games where it's like, geez, this dude is the best guy on the court. Like on Christmas
Mhm.
Day, he was playing Memphis without Steph, and I was like, yeah, okay, Jordan Poole is the best guy that I'm
Yeah,
seeing on the court right now. He's kind of like he's in that weird niche of players where it's kind of like it's a guy where you just have to watch him play and you just know they're really good.
yeah.
Same thing with like Bones Highland. Like he's just a hooper. Like you can watch him and you know he's a very good
It's
basketball
just
player.
those shifty guards.
Yeah, you don't have to get into the analytics and be like, oh, his box plus minus per 48. No, you can just watch Jordan Poole and you can tell that the guy has talent. And, he shows that a lot of the times. And then there's, times where it's like, what are you
You
doing?
question why he even got drafted.
Yeah, it's like he's so confident in his ability that sometimes he takes some shots where I'm kind of like, why would you shoot that? But with those that like niche of players, you kind of know that they're gonna shoot. Like that's what they're gonna
He's
do.
that spark plug.
Yeah,
Like,
they're shot makers.
yeah.
He's been like that forever, like
Hmm.
sixth man. Your role is just get on the court and get the offense
Go
going.
crazy.
They're gonna shoot the
Hmm.
ball. Jordan Clarkson does it. Lou Will used to do it. It's just always been that way. So I'm not gonna hold it against him. But sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
come on now.
I'm mainly directing it more toward the other players around it.
Oh, for sure. Jordan Poole is the
Because
most developed out of all of them
yeah,
by far.
like and they also have to come away with some of the wins on the road because
Yeah.
their road record is
It's
terrible.
horrific. I think it's like the worst.
Yeah,
It's by far the worst in the NBA. Last time I checked, I think they were 2-13 on the road. So,
it's terrible.
you got to win on the road. Obviously, role players typically tend to play better at home, and their bench was already bad. So when you're like not at least playing at home, they're gonna play even worse than they already were. So it's kind of like I don't know what you're gonna do. But I mean, I will give the Warriors credit. Clay got
They're
15.
3-16 on the
Three and
road.
16.
Yeah,
Yeah, so not good at all. And I don't think it's not like all of those games were against quality opponents. Some of those games were against some pretty trash teams. So yeah, that's inexcusable. You can't really be 3-16 on the road and really do much. Although, their record kind of evens out with the home record because their home record is very good.
oh
At
yeah,
home,
extremely.
you don't beat the Dubs at home most of the time. But on the road, you got a good chance. You got a really good shot. Um, yeah. I like it's just really hard to judge the Warriors right now without Steph because like when a team, how in NBA they'll post like a picture of the team, one team's best player, and then the other team's best player next to each other, and it's like a hype up for the matchup.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
the other team's player that they choose to post is Draymond Green. You can't really expect too much because I remember they were playing the 76ers and it was like battle of the big men. Joel Embiid versus Draymond Green. And Draymond Green finished like 8 points and 7 rebounds.
No,
So,
because they kept on reposting that pass to Klay Thompson.
oh
Like,
yeah, like it
where'd the
wasn't
ball go?
it
It was
was
a bounce
clearly a
pass.
bounce pass. Like, oh, yeah, NBA media is funny. NBA
Draymond's
media.
a magician.
Draymond's a magician. He made a simple bounce pass, guys. Something that I could do. And there's not a lot of stuff on NBA court that I could do. But if I bounce pass to Klay Thompson, trust me.
Like two
But
feet away from me?
10
Yeah.
for 10. I'm going 10 for 10. Who's your last team?
My
Oh, well, you have two more. I only have
two.
four.
Yeah.
You have five.
The Raptors,
Mm-hmm.
sophomore slump Scotty, help him up.
He hasn't played great. He really hasn't played great. I don't know what they got to do. The Raptors are also a really weird team because it's just like they have so many guys. It's like they're so extremely
Siakam
deep.
goes crazy at the most random times. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're just a really weird team to look at because they're not mid. They're not a mid team, but
Their
I'm not.
record is bad though.
Yeah, but the roster talent isn't
The roster talent isn't bad.
at all.
It's just yeah, they're 16-21.
It's
They're
like,
tied with the Bulls, below the Wizards, Hawks, Knicks, Heat, Pacers. Whoa, wait, why are the Pacers 21-17?
hey, they're good. They're good this year. you know, two
Tyrese Halliburton carry.
Halliburton and what's his name? Benedict Mathurin, your guy, going
Go.
crazy. They've been spectacular. What's it called? Yeah, the Raptors. I mean, at that point, you said they're lower than the Wizards.
Yes.
Tank for
They're
Victor.
lower than the Wizards by a game.
Oh, by a game. It's not that
Yeah.
high. But like
I
tank for
mean,
Victor at this point.
yeah.
Just blow it up. Trade Pascal. Trade Fred Van Vliet.
I honestly think that they should trade though. Like
Yeah, I
I
mean,
wouldn't
like,
be opposed to
I
it.
wouldn't be mad at it if they were like, you know
Yeah.
what, there's a clear ceiling to what we can achieve with Pascal Siakam as our best player. We're gonna trade him and with the opportunity to get the greatest prospect of all time by far, bro, go do it.
They can definitely get value out of it too.
Yeah, even like just Pascal Siakam on his own could be a very quality. We already saw he could be the second best player on a championship team. You know,
Hmm.
that's possible. Maybe a team like Dallas or something is like we want to give someone to Luca, which is my fourth New Year's resolution.
Oh.
The Mavericks need to get Luca some help. That's
Hmm.
their resolution. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But if like the Mavericks were like, we'll trade for Pascal or Fred Van Vliet just to help out Luca, there's value there. It's not like they have someone who's untradeable like Bradley Beal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A team that's below the Raptors though that I have is the Hornets, and pretty much what set a direction in which you're going because they have people who are decent, but they can't trade them away because they don't have value and their
Yeah.
contracts are bad. So like Terry Rozier,
Gordon
he's having a
Hayward.
down season.
Both of
Gordon
them.
Hayward, yeah, both of them. They're having down seasons and like they're just injuries, money. They can't trade them away. They can't really set a direction. Eventually, Lamelo's going to request a trade if they
Yeah.
keep it up that
And
terrible record.
it sucks for the Hornets too, because it's like they lost their second best player in the most weird way possible. And it's like there's nothing you can really do to predict that, but the Gordon Hayward contract was bad from the start. So I don't know why they paid him that much, especially knowing his injury history and especially
Yeah.
with the injury that he had in Boston. I don't know why they paid him. Terry Rozier, I think Terry Rozier has a little more value than Gordon Hayward does because he still
Mhm.
obviously can be a spark plug, I think, even though he is having a down season.
Yeah.
Uh, I think he has a little bit more value, but yeah, I think at this point the direction is, like I said, for the Raptors, trade or not trade, tank for Victor. You're not making the
Yeah.
playoffs, you're not making the play-in. Trade,
They're not. They're one of the worst teams in the league right now.
yeah, you're not doing
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to get Victor. I think a lot of people forget like
They can get away with Scoot.
Scoot is like an elite draft prospect, man.
Bro,
Like
did you see that
the
dunk?
dunk,
Oh my
yeah. In
God.
any other draft class, Scoot Henderson is going one. I
Mhm.
think people are taking Scoot Henderson over Cade Cunningham. Like he's a better draft prospect to me, a more surefire prospect to me than any guy I've ever seen. You
For
get
sure.
2 years in the G League against grown men, and he's 18. He's a year older than I am, and he's playing professional athletes for 2 years. That's a surefire prospect. I've watched both of them play. When the G League Ignite played, I forget what Metropolitans '92 or something.
Oh, was
Whatever.
it the first game of the season?
It was like a what's it called? A G League. It was the one G League game that
Oh,
was like
oh yeah,
aired
yeah,
on
yeah.
TV. I watched
Yep.
them both play, and it what the gap between Victor and Scoot is not that drastic. Victor is just the thing with Victor is there's so much unrecognized talent. Like there's something with Victor that he can be that we've never seen before. With Scoot, you kind of have an idea of if he's at his best, what he can really be. He can be an elite, scorer, 3 levels, with some defensive intensity as well. What's called an archetype that we've seen before. With Victor, it's kind of like there's this 7'5" guy who can dribble, shoot, do hezzies, do one-legged, 3-pointers that we've never seen before.
One-legged pull-up 3-pointers from half
Yeah.
court, spin jumper, turn
So
around
obviously,
360 dunk.
that's the difference between Scoot and Victor. But if you can get either of those guys, I'd be happy. They got to
Yeah.
just find a way to move Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier, even if you're getting value that's not what they're really worth. Just get them off the roster.
That wraps up mine.
That's your fifth.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think for the most part, every NBA team is they are aware of what they need to do, where they are in the grand scheme of things. Uh, and it's just you need to have a star to win most of the time. So for teams like you're saying with Toronto, obviously Pascal's a star, but like when you're playing against Jason Tatum one night, and then the next night you're playing against Giannis, and then the next night you're playing against Joel Embiid, and then after that you're playing against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's averaging 30, then Luka, who's averaging like 20,000 points a game and 20 rebounds and 37 assists. Pascal's not matching up like that. So
Mhm.
they're an interesting case. Same thing with Charlotte going from being like a up and coming team to being like this trash team that they're really just not good. Um, and then obviously the Lakers. It's about direction. I think that's the big theme for a lot of these.
Yeah.
Choosing where you want to go with things. But yeah, I like those. Um, no New
You ready
Year's
for
resolutions for you. No New Year's resolutions for you. No goals. Nothing. Well, I
healthy
think you have
knees?
goals. Healthy
Healthy
knees.
knees.
That's a good goal. That's a very good goal, especially for you. That's definitely something, in years prior we haven't seen from you. It's something that
Yes.
would really boost your draft stock. And if you could get those knees healthy, I could see you sliding into the third round, second
D
round.
Rose is my twin, for real, for real.
D Rose, Jamal Murray, like no wonder you have some attachment to him. Like it's you guys are on a similar path with the knee injury.
Yes.
Yeah. But let's shift over to the NFL. Obviously,
All
before we
right.
get into anything that's, football on the field related, we got to talk about the Damar Hamlin situation, which has just been, heartbreaking
It's
in
very
general.
rough.
Very rough. I've never seen anything like it. I was trying to think,
Like,
I thought I remember something similar happening, but no, this is just, as far as NFL goes, nothing on this level has happened. And we still don't know if
like,
the guy's okay.
yeah. Like what had happened was T. Higgins running, Damar, collision, tackle. Yeah, looks like he took like a shoulder-ish to his face
His
mask, right?
chest. Yeah.
Chest. Oh. And then like, little Selly, and then he just passes out.
Yeah, he takes a couple steps and then he's out.
Yeah.
As far I've been trying to keep up with the situation as much as possible because they're giving
The
pretty
last
frequent updates.
the last update that I saw was this morning at like 9:24.
Hmm.
It was just his condition's improving.
Yeah, that's what we know as of right now, unless something is happening
Yeah.
while we're recording. His condition is improving. He's still in critical condition, but his condition is improving. I will say I was doing a little bit of research on the situation. This isn't the first time a professional athlete has had cardiac arrest on the field. And actually, the other person that it happened to did survive. It was a soccer player named Christian Eriksen. I don't really keep up with soccer, but when I was reading up on the Damar Hamlin situation, it came up. He had cardiac arrest in 2020, and obviously he played for Manchester United, I think, at the time. And they had people on the field, obviously, do what they had to do. And 18 months later, he's alive. He's playing.
That's good. That's
So
great.
it's not an impossible to, recover from situation, but it's also not something to take light. And I am also really not shocked. Well, a little shocked that the NFL did cancel the game. Just knowing the NFL's track record, I was like, there's no way they cancel this game. Not I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
I'm very shocked in a good way that they did, but it's like the NFL's track record on player safety, especially this year, has been awful. There was the two Tua concussions, which we'll talk about later when we talk about
Oh
some
yeah.
picks. The Devontae Parker situation, where I don't know if it was him or one of his teammates. They took a hard hit, and then he was making like a
Oh,
whole fuss on the
it
side.
was it was his teammate. It was his teammate.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, this guy cannot play right now. We need to
Yeah.
call the play dead." And no one was really doing anything.
They
Uh,
eventually did. They called it dead though,
yeah, they called it
which I'm
dead.
glad. Yeah.
Yeah, after he made a whole fuss about it and, had to
Yeah.
get the, line judge's attention.
Hmm.
But, this is a step in the right direction as far as the NFL handling player safety. Again, this isn't a concussion. This isn't a torn ACL. This is cardiac arrest. So it's very different. This was like life or death. A concussion is also a very serious thing that can be life,
It's
but
serious, but not as
serious
well.
as
I don't
this
want
is
to say not as serious, but like
this is different. This is like immediately after
death
this
can
happened.
happen. Yeah.
Like it was an issue. A lot of the talk around Damar Hamlin has it's been like one of three things. So it's been obviously everyone, NFL, Bleacher Report, NBA, even people who aren't, in the United States are playing for the dude because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Uh, shoot, even at my school, we have a sign on our office that says prayers for Damar Hamlin.
Wow.
It's like everyone is kind of, in arms for this dude.
Everyone's involved.
Everyone wants to see the dude come back. His
Hmm.
toy drive went from like 400K in donations to like 6 million today. You know, um, dude
A
was a
couple
stand-
a couple players donated.
yeah.
Forgot
So
forgot names.
yeah,
I
I
saw
can't.
people did though. Yeah.
Uh,
There was an update on his condition this morning at 7:24 a.m. according to ESPN. His needed oxygen level lowered from 100% to 50%. So that's a good sign.
yeah,
Like he doesn't need or he isn't relying as much on the
uh,
oxygen.
which is
Yeah.
good. Uh,
And yeah.
yeah, he's still in critical, but if he's going, he's clearly moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
Uh, glad that the NFL canceled the game. I was
I'm
thinking,
disappointed in what Skip said.
I was literally about to get to that. But before I talk about that, I was literally thinking because I got home from work when it happened. I was like, logistically, what needs to happen for them to cancel this game? Because obviously, young man's life, really bad.
Yeah.
But like when you think about all that needs to go into what happens, or what all that goes into what is needed to cancel a game, you got to talk to the coaches, the players, the people who are on the field, doing all the security, event planning, all of that. And it's not like this happened in a game between the Texans and the Colts, where there's like even if they play this during the playoffs, there's no playoff implication. It
Mhm.
doesn't mess up the rest of the season schedule. This is a game that has serious playoff implications, and they canceled it, which I'm happy about. Um, and I was just like, I just really wonder how they're going to play the situation out because this is a really interesting situation as far as
I feel like a solution could be postponing the playoffs by a week.
that's the
It's
easiest
gonna
thing.
suck for planning though, of course, because obviously you buy a ticket for the Super Bowl on February 14th.
And then you get the
You're
hotel
set.
and then
You
all
have a
that.
flight set for that date. It gets postponed to the 21st. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's the only that to me is the best situation. And they already said the game's not playing this week.
Mhm.
They also have said that none of the games that are supposed to happen next week got canceled, which I find a little weird because that does mean the Buffalo Bills will be playing the New England Patriots in a few days.
Mhm.
Uh, so I wonder if, you know, they're not going to play that game or what's going to happen. It's just an interesting situation as to what's going to happen. But as you were saying about Skip's comments, um, I don't think Skip's comments were, he apologized later on, but I think I
Yeah,
took more issue with um what happened on first what's their show called? Undisputed First Take, whatever the
something
one
like that.
with him and Skip and Shannon, where Shannon was like, I wish we could play the audio on the podcast. That should be like something
Mhm.
we work on. But like he was saying like he saw his brother, cousin, it was a family member, a near family member. He saw them like pass out on the field, and it really struck him different. Seeing
Yeah,
the Damar Hamlin situation. He was like, Skip made some comments yesterday that I didn't agree with, and then Skip, talked over him and was like, I'm not going to delete my tweet because I still stand by what I said.
yeah.
At some point, you got to have some dignity and be like, even if I
Have some
don't feel I'm
humanity.
wrong, yeah, even if I don't feel I'm wrong, maybe I shouldn't have made that comment at that time.
Yeah.
And, you know, just
Think through the
apologize.
circumstances around it.
Yeah, it's okay to feel like you're not wrong, but in this situation, just shut up. Like the
Yeah.
situation is what it is, and you just kind of gotta be like, I messed up, and I'm sorry. But again, Skip Bayless this is not his first time doing anything where it was like, come on now, be a human. When Dak Prescott's brother passed away, he was calling Dak Prescott soft. I recall
Oh,
that.
did he
Uh,
say like was he the one who said shut up and play football? Or was that someone
Yeah,
else?
I think that was him. He's someone who
Yeah.
said something along those lines. He's called what's Mike McCarthy fat and said that was why he wasn't a good coach or something along those lines. Skip Bayless just he says a lot of stuff, and then obviously what Skip Bayless has been known for, hating on LeBron for the
Hating
last like
LeBron. He
20
hated on
years.
Bronny, and Bronny's only a teenager. Like
Yeah,
what?
so it's kind of like the guy is weird. He's a weirdo, and as someone who wants to work in sports media, Skip Bayless is everything that I don't want to be.
Mhm.
Sellout. Uh, he's a character. The dude's a weirdo. So I hope.
I won't hold you though. His actions do bring in clicks. and
Yeah,
attention from media.
that's exactly what it is. But
So it's successful, but
at some point, it's kind of like, are the clicks worth it? Especially in this situation with the LeBron hating
mhm,
thing. I get that. I'm not really pressed on that.
yeah,
Obviously LeBron's the most popular basketball player in the world and one of the most popular, if not the most popular basketball player or athlete in the United States. Um, and if you say something negative about someone that most people like or a lot of people dislike, it's gonna get some clicks. With the
yeah,
Damar Hamlin thing, like, what are you doing? Come on now.
mhm,
The Dak Prescott's your brother passes away and then you call him soft. What are you doing? That's not clicks. That's just being, a mean spirited individual. Uh, so yeah, Skip Bayless. I don't know what. I think he's on Fox or whatever network he's on. He was on ESPN, but I think now he's on Fox, or he was on Fox and now he's on ESPN. But that network needs to, there needs to be some
take
sort of
action
consequence.
against it. Yeah,
Yeah, like whether that's ending his show or putting the show on like a temporary leave or put him on temporary absence or something needs to take place because that's just not okay for you to talk
Shannon Sharp is he didn't show up to work.
yeah for the
He's
first day and
yeah,
then today he showed up, yesterday he didn't, but
mhm,
with what happened today, who knows if he shows up tomorrow. Like the
yeah,
whole environment in that studio has to be all messed up. But besides what Skip Bayless said, at the end of the day, the message that everyone, is pushing at the moment and that we are also pushing is pray for Damar Hamlin. We pray for the best for his family,
his well being.
friends, his well being. We all want to see him, be okay, even if that means, a big football game had to be canceled. There will be other football games, other playoff games. The season's not going to be over. We still have things to look forward to, but in this moment, the focus is obviously on, his
Damar.
well being.
I also think this is gonna light a fire for the Bills because, well, if I know anything about adversity for football, it sparks things. And
It does.
last year, my team lost their head coach,
Mm-hmm.
and it the other our running back coach or my running back coach had to step up as the interim head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So he filled in, led the team to the semifinals. Bam!
Yeah, I
Like what
definitely.
team does that? And
Yeah,
then this year, coach's first full season as the head coach, back to the semifinals.
yeah. You
And then
know.
there were also the previous head coach before the one that passed. He
Mm-hmm.
also passed away. So
Mm-hmm.
it hit him, and then one of my friends also passed away. He got shot, and
Yeah.
yeah, it
It lights a fire, definitely. I think you worded it really well. Like if you weren't rooting for the Bills before, I was kind of like, why? Like they Buffalo in general has gone through a lot.
yeah.
Historically, recently, they go to four straight Super Bowls, they lose them. They've never done anything where it was like, ugh, I can't believe Buffalo did that. They're a pretty, clean organization. I have a lot of players on that team who I really like. Stephon Diggs is a really cool dude. Josh
Who
Allen
on the
is
team would you not let you date your daughter?
Diggs. They got some guys who everyone likes. Von Miller is someone who everyone really likes. Ed Oliver, all those guys. Really cool team. Uh,
Tre'Davious White coming back from an
Tre'Davious
ACL
White.
injury.
Like, there's nothing to not like out there. And then, for this to happen, you gotta root for the dudes. Like,
Mhm,
they might not be the team who I like when you look at the stats and all of that. Think I'm gonna win, but if
mhm,
Buffalo won the Super Bowl, that would be just the best moment
mhm.
in sports. Um, whether Damar Hamlin is actively playing on the team or not, it would just be huge for the city, for his family. Um, Obviously, praying that he can, at the bare minimum, get back to health and be alive and stay with us for the rest of his long life that he still has ahead of him. Um, if he could get back on the football field, that would be a legendary thing. And if that were to happen, comeback player of the year award,
Comeback player of the year would have to be his.
that's him. He's got it. Um, Rename the award after him at that point.
Yeah,
Because no, there's nothing that's more adverse than a life or death situation on the field that he's experiencing right now. That has lasted. It happened on Monday. It is what?
Monday.
It's
It's
Wednesday now.
Wednesday.
We're still not sure what's going on fully. And we probably won't know tomorrow either. So this
Yeah.
is unparalleled. ever. It's just a crazy situation to even think about. And at the end of the day, praying
Just prayers up for him.
for him and rooting for Buffalo for the rest of the year. And that's all I can really say on
I
that.
mean, if I'd like to explain my Super Bowl prediction, that's why partially why I chose the Bills because they overcoming adversity and
Mhm.
they'll handle it. They'll handle business.
Yeah. I believe in them. I think they're a very good team. I just,
They're also way past due.
yeah, way past due. And as far as when we look at, Super Bowl picks and playoff picks, we can transition to that. We do have some picks that we can make. There's like 3 games that we're not really able to make picks for because of the situation. Those being Patriots, Bills, Bengals, Ravens, and Patriots or Bengals, Bills, obviously, because just the situation is kind of weird right now. But for the rest of the games, we can kind of talk about them and analyze how we think things are going to play out. Some games with some, playoff implications, and other games with not as much playoff implication. I'm trying to pull up the ESPN playoff picture website so we can make these picks, and hypothetically, if these games played out how we imagine them to play out, what our playoff matchups would be. So I'll read off the names or read off the games and give you some context as to the playoff situation. If they're in a clinching scenario, anything like that. I'll start off with the 2 least relevant games that it really doesn't matter who wins. Saints at Panthers, Colts at Texans. Both games, snooze fest if we're being real. No playoff implication. Both teams really want to lose because higher draft pick. So how do you see these games playing out?
For the Saints Panthers, did you see their running? Did you see the? Did you see the Panthers running game last week?
I
Forgot who
did it against Detroit, I believe.
yeah, against Detroit. They ran all over them.
So yeah, I mean, Carolina, both of these teams can win games. It's really
Yeah.
hard. It's not like these are like bottom of the barrel teams. Panthers have been a little better than the Saints as of late, but they're around the same, tier. They have similar records, I'm pretty sure. Um, you know, I believe their records are almost exactly the same. Saints are currently 6-10, or Saints are 7-9. Panthers are 6-10, so it's near identical.
I'll choose the Panthers.
I'm gonna choose. I'm just trying to think who's tanking harder. I think Carolina's tanking harder.
True.
It's hard.
I mean, it's
I mean, like realistically, either way, the who wins doesn't matter.
yeah.
Um, in the long run, I'm gonna just say Saints because I feel like the Panthers are tanking harder. They want to get CJ Stroud if they can, so they're tanking a little bit harder. And
Who
then for
was your QB1 of the draft?
my QB1 is Bryce Young, no question.
Okay.
Colts at Texans is the other game that really does not matter. Oh, there's actually,
Colts.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go Indianapolis. I guess like either way it doesn't really matter. Texans, honestly, maybe the Texans win it because I think they have the number 1 pick locked up, or like it's really close, pretty much. Like
Mhm.
they're a decent amount like farther from the second worst team. Houston is 2-13. Oh,
Oh my God.
technically no. Chicago is 3-13, and Justin Fields is not playing. So they
Oh,
probably want
Nathan
to.
Peterman starting the
Yeah,
goat.
you know,
I
they
want Nathan
definitely want
Peterman
to lose that game.
jersey.
Yeah, they want to lose that game. I'm gonna just say Houston
Yeah.
lose to Indianapolis. That's what I'm gonna go with, I guess. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Third game that doesn't matter.
Bryce Young, future Texan.
Buccaneers at Falcons doesn't matter at all. Like Bucks are locked into the
I
seed
think
at
the
4.
Bucks are gonna win it to get momentum.
Yeah. I mean, with the Bucks, it's like, do you even play some of your guys? Like, I'm not playing Tom Brady in a game that doesn't matter. I'm sorry. He's 46. Like, just leave him on the bench.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Let's see. I think that's all the games that don't matter at all. Um, yeah, so all of the games from this point on have some sort of playoff implication. We have the Colts beating the Texans. We have I have the Saints beating the Panthers. You have the Panthers beating the Saints. At this point, I'm gonna just put a tie because who really cares on who wins that matchup or not? And then
Mhm.
um, I can see Tampa Bay winning. I can see Tampa Bay losing. Um, the Falcons
Yeah.
are a fine team that can put up points. So like I'm not like,
Does it
oh
affect their seating?
no, Tampa Bay's stuck at 4 no matter what happens. So either way, it doesn't really matter for Tampa.
Okay.
So I guess I'll go Tampa just because, like you said, momentum is important. So maybe they do play some guys and they're like, let's get a win to end off the season really quick.
Yeah.
Let's um another game that doesn't really it matters, but it's not really a great game. We have Rams versus Seahawks. Situation with this game, Seahawks win and they have a chance at making the playoffs. If the Packers lose, they play the Rams who have been terrible this year. No really other way to cut it. The Rams just have not been very good. Seahawks have home field advantage. I'm pretty sure we'll both have the same pick. I have Seattle winning
12's
the game. Yeah, it's really not close. I
Seattle.
Rams have nothing to play for. I mean, it is a division game, so maybe they're like, nah, let's beat the Seahawks because we don't want
They
to see
don't
our
even
long.
have any picks, so it don't even
Yeah,
matter.
it's like they don't have a
Yeah.
draft pick to play for. So it's not like the Rams are really going to be tanking either. So
Mhm.
it, I'm gonna still go Seattle just because I think they're the better football team. That'll put them at 9-8. But you know, it's you know, like it's not an interesting game at all. Out of all of them, it's one of the worst games of the day. Um,
I mean, Gino might light them up. Who knows?
yeah, Gino will probably play really well. Next game, like I'm trying to go in order of like least interesting. Um, I'll say this is probably the next least interesting. Minnesota at Chicago. Not uninteresting in the way that it doesn't have playoff implications. Just because Justin Fields is now not playing, it's pretty clear who's going to win this game. I would like to think. Um, the
Give me the
situation,
Vikings. No,
yeah,
the
I
Bears.
have the Vikings winning, but
Bears.
you have the Bears. Are you serious?
No.
Uh, for Minnesota, a win plus a San Francisco loss will move the Vikings up to the 2 seed. Obviously, they're coming off a really rough game, and they have two starting offensive linemen hurt after that game. Uh, so they
one
still
of their
want to
it's
win.
one of their tackles, right?
Yeah, a tackle and an interior lineman. I'm not good with lineman names, but they're missing two
Mhm.
starters, which is never good. And they already struggle to run the football, so missing two
Yeah.
linemen is never great. So I'm gonna still say Minnesota wins it, obviously, because it's like you're
Mhm.
playing to
They have
not.
more talent.
Yeah, they're gonna beat Chicago. Even though Chicago's at home, it's just like you kind of really want to win this game to get a higher seed. For Minnesota, I know they don't want to play the Giants because they played the Giants and they really didn't play very well, and they'd much rather play a team like either Seattle or I mean
Green Bay.
I don't know if they even
I
would
wouldn't
rather
even
play
want to play
Green
Green Bay.
Bay because they just
Yeah.
lost them 40 to them
Yeah.
43. So it's kind of like they win the game, but like they're not going to be mad. I mean, either way, they're not going to be crazy happy with their matchup.
Mhm.
Um, the best game to go to after that is the game that will decide the hypothetical 2 seed Cardinals at San Francisco. I think the starting quarterback for Arizona that game is to be Trace McSorley. I think he started against Tampa. I don't know who's or not. Is it Trace McSorley?
I think it is.
Because Nathan Peterman is playing for Chicago. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Trace
Trace McSorley.
McSorley. Yeah, so it's not a good quarterback situation. Obviously, San Francisco's quarterback situation on paper doesn't look spectacular. Who's Brock Purdy? Mr. Irrelevant. Never heard of this
Bro
guy
was
in my
cooking.
life. And he's been great. For a third string quarterback. He might be the GOAT third
Shanahan
string quarterback.
system.
Yeah, it's really not like Brock Purdy is an elite talent. It's just kind of like the talent is so good around him that there's not too much that he really needs to do.
I
So
think the Niners need to utilize Ayuk more. Bro's unsung.
He's
He's
like the
good.
offense is so deep. It's like if you don't go to Debo, you go to Kittle. If you don't go to Kittle, you go to McCaffrey. If you don't go to McCaffrey, you go to Ayuk. And then like they got one of the best linemen in the league with Trent Williams, probably the best lineman in the league at this point. The team is just spectacular. And then you're not even talking about
Their
like,
defense is
yeah,
disgusting.
their best. That's not even their best unit. Their best unit is their defense. Nick Bosa has like 20 sacks this year. Okay. Like,
And then they got Fred Warner leading them.
right. Like the team is spectacular. The only weakness is like they don't have the greatest cornerbacks, but like the pass rush is so good that it doesn't even matter.
They
Uh,
have good safeties over top though.
right.
One in Talanoa Hufanga
And
and Jimmy Ward.
Jimmy Ward, I was gonna say that. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's the starter, but who knows?
Yeah.
Um, obviously, I think I'm taking San Francisco. They obviously
Yeah,
want
for
the
sure.
seed as well, and it's a pretty easy matchup. I honestly wonder, like in this situation, if they were like, we're not gonna play Brock Purdy, who's the quarterback? Because it's like they've already gone through that.
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey
McCaffrey.
just slides over. There's like, yeah, move
No,
over
I
the
mean, we've seen that he can throw.
yeah, it might as well. I like
Yeah.
they'll probably pick up someone on waiver wise. I'm trying to think who they could pick up. Shoot, pick up Kaepernick and just have him
Joe
play.
Flacco.
Joe Flacco's on a roster. He's not even an
Oh, that's
option. So
true.
he's on New York. So we don't really have any options at quarterback. The best option got taken up by, the Rams with Baker Mayfield, and they lost anyway. So with that being said, I think the last game we have as far as the Eastern, or not the Eastern Conference, the NFC playoff picture, we have two games actually that'll decide our final seeding. We have Detroit at Green Bay, which would be the Sunday night game. Um, if Detroit wins, they're out. Like the way the game is scheduled, it doesn't really matter for Detroit unless
Mhm.
LA loses, or unless Seattle loses. Essentially, if Seattle wins, Detroit is eliminated from the playoffs, and the only team that can make it would be Green Bay with a win. If Seattle loses to LA, the winner of Packers Lions will make the playoffs. We have the Lions or the Seahawks beating the Rams. So by the time it's Sunday night, the Lions know that they
They're
can't
already
make
out.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm a little like, you know, it's Dan Campbell. He's not going to be like, you know what, guys,
Yeah. He's not gonna say let's lose on purpose, guys.
yeah, let's get a higher draft pick, especially not
Yeah.
the Packers of all teams. Like that's
Yeah.
your rival. That's your
Dan Campbell's the type of person to just spark the fire into there
yeah.
and just want the win.
He's like, y'all don't want Green Bay in the playoffs. No one wants Green Bay in the playoffs. But at the same time, the Green Bay has been playing really good. They're a great football team. I mean, they're not a great
For
football
sure.
team, but like they're
They've
playing like a great football
Christian
team.
Watson is going crazy.
Like they're both of these teams are really solid. I honestly, in my heart, feel like Detroit is a better football team. So I low key want to pick them, but
I want to pick
Lambeau
Detroit. Yeah.
at at Lambeau in a winner is in situation, you know, it just feels like such a Packers Aaron Rodgers thing to do to eliminate or to like beat Detroit to make the playoffs.
I'm taking the Lions.
I'm also
But
thinking
you can put the Packers down because realism, but I'm taking the Lions.
even realism though, I think it's not like a for sure thing that the Packers beat the Lions. I honestly think that the Lions have a really good chance of beating this game. The only thing that makes me a little more like, oh, I'm picking Packers is the home field advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm gonna look at the last time these two teams played, and I'm pretty sure it was a decent, game. And I honestly think the Lions won that game anyway. So
It's hard
uh
to beat a team twice in football.
yeah, it is very hard to beat a team twice in football. Let's see. It's not showing me the game, but I'm pretty confident the Lions won the first time they played. Uh let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Detroit. I think that's the team I just feel a little bit more confident in at the moment, even if they'll know they're not playing for a playoff spot.
Detroit won 15-9,
Yeah, it was
November 6th.
okay. It was earlier on in the season, but they showed they can beat them, and Detroit's offense has been very good all year. So they
Extremely
put up
well.
points. So I'm gonna take Detroit. I think you said you're also taking Detroit.
Yes.
In the last game that arguably has the most playoff implication, which is a little weird. One seed Philadelphia at 13-3 is playing the 6 seeded Giants at 9-6-1. This game only has playoff implications for one team involved, as the Giants, win or lose, are stuck at 6. We can't move up, we can't move down. We are at 6, and we are playing the 3 seed regardless, away from home. For Philly, this has extreme playoff implications, as if they lose, they move down to the 2 seed. And that's assuming. Oh wait, actually, let's not even go to this game. I completely forgot about Dallas, Washington.
Cowboys, Commanders. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes that game important. So I think obviously Dallas wins it. They're trying to win the
Yeah.
seed. I'm not going to talk about it too much. Washington's eliminated. They're not really playing for anything at the moment. Honestly, they really want to lose to get that record down a little bit.
Get that quarterback.
Yeah, if they can, we'll see. But now back to Giants Eagles. If the
I'm taking the
Win,
Giants.
Eagles win, they remain the 1 seed. San Fran would be the 2 seed in our situation. Dallas would stay at 5. If they lose, San Francisco becomes the 1 seed. Dallas wins the division and is the 2nd seed, and Philly falls to 5. Philly would go from the 1 seed to a wild card team, and they would be playing Tampa Bay away from home.
That's
Um,
crazy.
the Giants have already gone out and said that they're not resting their starters. That's what it seems like Brian Dable has said, even though there's no playoff implication for us. So it seems like they're going to still play their starters. I don't recall if Jalen Hurts is going to be back or not. I would hope so, but even if he is back, he was placed as a limited participant in the Eagles practice.
It's his
So
shoulder, right?
yeah, it's his shoulder, so that's kind of not something you want to play with when it comes to a
Yeah.
quarterback. You really
The
don't.
only way to recover is by resting.
Yeah, and it's like it sucks because this game has so much playoff implication for them, but it's also like, is the reward worth the risk? Like, is it that much better to? I mean, obviously having home field advantage for every single playoff game and having a bye week, um, that'll allow Jalen Hurts to be
Benefits.
more
Yeah.
healthy. But it's like, even if you end up the 5 seed, you're playing Tampa Bay. You're beating Tampa Bay. I'm pretty confident you're beating Tampa Bay. Obviously, you don't get the rest, but you know, is it worth potentially messing up Jalen Hurts' shoulder to the point where it's like you guys have no chance at winning anything in the playoffs because he's injured and he's out? I don't know. Um, Same thing can be said with the Giants though, because it's like, do you want to play all of your guys when you guys are already kind of banged up as is? Me
It's
personally,
just a tough situation.
for both teams. I think for me personally, I'm taking Philly, even though, I love the Giants. Those are my guys. I'm glad we're in the playoffs. Philly really needs to win this game. The Giants don't. I think what Dable is referring to when he talks about, I'm going to play my.
Play as the starters for the first half.
Yeah, not the whole game. Philly,
Yeah.
if the game is close, they're playing their starters until they have a comfortable lead and they're going to get the ones. Um, for New York, we play the starters, some of the starters first half, give them some reps. Maybe Saquon doesn't play. He's the one guy who I'm kind of like, please don't play him because he has an injury history. He's a bruising running back who's also elusive. He does a little bit of both, but let's not get him banged up before a playoff game where we're going to need him. We're going to need to rely on him a lot.
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see is the Giants play their starters in the first half, maybe make it a close game. And then at this time, the second half starts, they'll probably start benching guys and the Eagles will come away with in the end because they need it more. So with that being said, our playoff seeding, I think there's no other playoff matchup that matters in the NFC. Yeah, I think we actually did all the NFC games.
We did all of them.
Yeah, first seed would be Philadelphia. They would have a bye week, and the wild card games for the NFC would be the 7-seeded Seattle Seahawks taking on the 2nd-seeded San Francisco 49ers, the 6th-seeded Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings, or the 3rd-seeded Vikings, and 5th-seeded Dallas versus the 4th-seeded Buccaneers. One thing that's funny, all of these games have happened, I'm pretty sure, this year. Pretty sure Dallas played Tampa earlier this season. Giants just played Minnesota. Seattle and San Francisco play every year twice. So it's going to be some rematches. All of these teams are going to have film on each other. One thing that is interesting, as bad as Tampa Bay has played, Tom Brady has literally never lost to the Cowboys in his 20-year career. So
No, because the Cowboys are like 0-7 against Tom Brady.
yeah,
And then
they don't
they're
lose.
0-8 in playoffs recently.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
historically it doesn't look like Dallas is going to win.
Yeah.
But You know,
I know that because
matchup
my friend's a
wise,
Cowboy fan.
you know, matchup wise, I'm taking Dallas, no question.
Hmm.
But you just got to look out for that. Historically, Tom doesn't lose to Dallas, but history gets made every day. So as for the AFC, it's a little more cloudy because of the game that got what's it called,
Postponed.
postponed. So we'll try and figure out things as much as we can. First game is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders have played themselves out of a playoff spot. Um, you know, in
Aaron
the
Stidham is starting.
yeah, Derek Carr's not playing anymore. What's it called? Obviously, this has been a really weird season for Oakland or Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
You have the game where you're up 20 on the Cardinals and you lose.
We're
Uh,
up 20 multiple times going into halftime, then blowing the lead, not putting up
yeah,
any points.
and then you have other,
Questionable throws,
yeah,
overthrows on the run, um, forcing the ball to Devontae, colliding receivers, not feeding Josh Jacobs, not picking up his fifth-year option. Anything else?
yeah,
A terrible defense. Did I mention terrible corners? We've been needing corners. Injured Denzel Perryman. Oh, Chandler Jones, we signed him for what? He's done nothing this whole year. Max Crosby, he's just be running around and stuff. Um, that's it.
yeah. The team has been bad, and then you have like the brightest spot of you guys this season has literally been that play or that game against New England, where you guys really probably wouldn't have won if it went to overtime. So you know,
Oh, the lousy pick six.
yeah, the lousy pick six. So I think we're both
That was
taking Kansas
terrible.
City. Obviously, for Kansas City, they're playing for the one seed. If they win, um, they have a good chance at getting it, assuming, depending on what goes on with the Bills in the next few weeks. Kansas City is playing for the one seed. Nothing else to really talk about there. Let's see. All of these games in the AFC, I realize I think all of them have playoff implication, which is really weird. Another game that's, pretty straightforward is Jaguars at Tennessee. Tennessee is
Jags.
terrible. I'm taking the Jags. Tannehill's
Trevor
not.
Lawrence is on a tear.
Yeah. I don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. Last time I watched Tennessee, they had Joshua Dobbs starting. Malik Willis just didn't look good in the games he played. Derrick Henry didn't play against Dallas last
I
week.
think he's injured.
So, yeah. So, no Derrick
He
Henry, no
he
Ryan
returned to
Tannehill.
practice this week though, I think. Or
Yeah.
today.
He's not playing. So,
Yeah.
I'm taking Jacksonville. Jacksonville already beat Tennessee with those guys, so there's literally no reason for them to lose. If Jacksonville wins, they would make the playoffs. If Jacksonville loses, Tennessee makes the playoffs. So, when you're in, I'm taking Jacksonville to take, the AFC South crown, which has been one of the worst divisions in football this year.
4 seed.
Four-seeded Jags. Next game we have let's talk about the Jets. Actually, no, let's talk about the Browns at the Steelers. Cleveland is not playing for anything, eliminated from the playoffs. Pittsburgh with a
Steelers are in
win.
contention, right?
Yeah, Pittsburgh with a win and a Patriots loss and what's the other team's loss? Miami Dolphins loss will make the playoffs. It's surprisingly more likely than you would think for a team to have two teams lose, just because the matchups play out in their favor so well. Um, for New England, they're playing Buffalo. Buffalo clearly still has something to play for. They're playing for the one seed. They're probably looking to win that game. And then for Miami, Miami also has something to play for, but Miami
They
is
don't have Tua.
they don't have Tua, and they're
They don't have
playing
Teddy
the
Bridgewater.
Jets.
Bridgewater just got injured this morning.
Yeah, I don't know who's playing quarterback for them. They're playing the Jets, who are a good team. It's not like Miami's playing, the Colts, and they have a
The
good matchup.
Jets have a great defense.
Yeah, so it's gonna be rough. And honestly, we can do all of these games in bunches. I have the Steelers making the playoffs at the moment. I
Yeah.
think it works out in their favor too well. Miami, no Tua, no Teddy Bridgewater. It's really hard to win with your third string quarterback against, one of the best defenses in the league. Obviously, Brock Purdy is literally on a tear right now and he's a third string quarterback, but it's not going to
It's
happen with
different because it's Kyle Shanahan and this one's Mike McCarthy.
it's way different.
You can only be Shanahan up to a certain level to
Right.
where you're not him.
Like, yeah, I just think, the Jets, are gonna want to win this game. They've already beat the Dolphins without Tua before by like 20 points. So it's not something that the Jets aren't prepared for. They've already beat this team before in the same situation. I'm not sure. I mean, it's still a chance that Tua plays. They might push him to play, knowing the Dolphins.
I
Uh,
wouldn't play him.
it says
Okay,
most recent update
let's talk about referees after all of this stuff
for sure.
because I
Uh,
want to talk about them.
Tua's situation is a little weird, and when we talk about the quarterback situation, his will be a little bit, interesting just because of his situation specifically. But you know, he's not playing. I would hope he's not playing. I hope they don't play.
Yeah,
Take your L, miss the playoffs if that's what it's got to be. Just don't risk his long term health because he's already had 2 concussions. It's not that deep. Just don't play him.
I mean
To
it's the same thing. The same thing happened to Luke Kuechly, right? He had like 3 concussions in a season, and he just retired.
Yep. Like concussions are nothing to play around with.
Yeah,
Serious injury, you know, don't want to mess around with a concussion. Um, so yeah, I have the Jets beating Miami. And as for the Patriots Bills game, like I said, Buffalo is playing for the 1 seed. They're gonna want
Buffalo.
to win that 1 seed.
They
Uh,
also have a fire under them.
yeah, there's a motivation to win that game. As for the Steelers and Browns, the Browns just they're not playing for anything. It's in their best interest to lose, and it's in Pittsburgh's best interest to win. So I think the Browns aren't going to play many of the starters. I don't really expect a lot of guys to play. Pittsburgh's trying to win, and I think they will, and that will mean Mike Tomlin will continue to not have a losing season ever. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
he's going to get it done. They'll be in the playoffs as the 7 seed, and that kind of wraps up what we can predict like accurately for Ravens Bengals. It's a little weird. The big thing with that game is it decides if Baltimore is the 5th seed or the 6th seed. With a Chargers win over Denver and a Ravens, as long as the Chargers win, they retain the 5 seed. If the Chargers lose, a Ravens win will make them the 5 seed. Ravens will be playing Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is in a weird situation because we don't know how that game was going to play out. But hypothetically, if Cincinnati would have won, they would have had a really good shot at getting the 1 seed, as they would have beat the Chiefs and they would have beat the Bills. And I think they would have actually got it.
The
Um,
question comes down to if Lamar's okay.
yeah, it will be an interesting game because it's a division game. Both teams have playoff implication. It really just comes down to that game if we ever see it or if it gets forfeited as a tie or something. Um, I think you know hypothetically, let's just say it gets called as a tie. I think the Ravens have a little bit more urgency to win the game. I think the
Mhm.
Bengals feel good regardless of who they're playing, Chargers or Ravens. And
For
I
the
think
Chargers case, though, I think the Chargers, it's a must win. It's the
yeah,
Broncos. Yeah.
you better beat Denver. And like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think the Chargers would also much rather play Jacksonville than they would play Cincinnati. So
For sure.
there's a lot more urgency for them to win that game. So I think the Chargers win and the Ravens win, but that at the end of the day, that doesn't matter because it would cancel out. Baltimore would remain the 6th seed. The Chargers would play Jacksonville at the 5 seed. Pittsburgh will play Buffalo at the 7 and 2 seeds, and Kansas City would get the bye. It's a little janky in the AFC just because of what's going on right now, so it's kind of hard to, say. But for the most part, I think this is a pretty realistic way that things will play out. I think the Jacksonville thing is for sure. I think that's pretty much how it's going to play out. And I think the Pittsburgh thing is also really likely.
For
Um,
sure.
and those are the two, biggest playoff implications. As far as everything else, it really just comes down to seeding. It really has nothing to do with who's in and who's out. So I think for the most part, we know that Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, Baltimore, and either Pittsburgh, or if I have to give a secondary team as to who I think is going to make it, New England. Like it's not going to be the Dolphins. Um, Either those teams are going to be in the playoffs.
I'm gonna lock in the Steelers in that case.
I think I'm going to as well. There's just way more,
The
urgency
Patriots would
for
need
those
so much
guys.
more to happen.
Yeah, the Patriots literally just need to win, but it's just like the Bills, they have much more urgency to win the game than the Browns do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a pretty realistic way for things to play out. Past that, um, when you look at this playoff, bracket, especially in the AFC, is really interesting because of like the disparity in quarterback play from the NFC to the AFC is insane. You have
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson if healthy, and Kenny Pickett. And then you have Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady, and Dak Prescott. Like
Hooray!
the drasticness and like quarterback play from the NFC to the AFC is insane. And this season has had a very big emphasis on quarterback play. A lot of guys have played below expectations, above expectations. And I did want to take some time to quickly go over, each team's quarterback situation. And if you hypothetically were that team, what you're doing. We could start off with the easy ones because there's clearly teams that there's no decision to be made. So we'll
Chiefs
start off in
keep,
the
Bills
AFC.
keep, Bengals keep.
Yeah, we'll start off in the AFC. Like Cincinnati, Joe Burrow staying.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Josh Allen staying. Kansas City, Los Angeles,
Stay.
all those
Mahomes.
guys are staying.
Yeah.
It gets a little interesting with
For
Lamar.
Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, he's staying. I'm
Yeah,
keeping him.
Trevor is staying. The only team that has a really good quarterback out there who it's like interesting is Lamar, just because they weren't willing to pay him before, but it's kind of like, dude, pay the guy. He's won an MVP. He's one of the most
Sure.
explosive quarterbacks that there is. People try and say he can't throw the ball. The dude can throw the ball and he can run it better than anyone else. So he might not be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen when it comes to throwing the ball, but
He
the
still
dude
gets it
has
there.
on, gets it there. And it's not even like he's a bad passer. He's a pretty solid dude. And he hasn't played with the best, weapons around him. Obviously, he's had one of the best tight ends in the NFL, but receiver wise, it's been pretty rough. So
Mhm.
I think you got to bring him back. Um, Next team that I think is a little interesting is Miami. And Miami is weird because it's like, it's not, they don't have a fine quarterback. The question is, does Tua come back to playing football next year? Like, I think there's a very real discussion to be had about the
There's a
possibility.
scenario where he retires.
Yeah, like you at that point, like maybe you step away from the game. Like it's not worth it to potentially
Risk your life.
yeah, cut your life short by multiple decades to play
Mhm.
football. Um, so maybe this isn't like, well, in the Miami situation, you need to find like a reliable backup. I think that's something they need to address. I don't know who it would be, but maybe, you find someone who ends up available to just be there in case Tua doesn't come back or something happens to Tua. But in the Tua case, what do you think you would do? I think it's easier for us to say because you're not the one, giving up your career and
I
millions of
would.
dollars, but
Well, first off, if I'm the head coach, benching Tua for the rest of the season.
even
If we make
postseason,
the play, um,
I
that's
think for
iffy.
regular season, I think that's
For the regular season,
yeah.
shut him down for the regular season, and then for the
Season,
postseason, it
readdress it.
depends. See how he's doing. If he's gonna say he's okay, get
Yeah,
him checked out anyways.
readdress it.
Yeah, because it's easy for one to say, "Oh yeah, I feel fine," like
And it's
he's
a
gonna
playoff
want to
game. He's
play
gonna
too.
want to play
Yeah,
in a playoff game. He's gonna be like, "Yeah,
yeah,
I'm good. Let me get on the field."
yeah.
But you
If
know,
he's clearly not all there, you have to stop him.
you can't do it. I don't know how you could like sleep at night knowing that you've put a man in
You're,
harm's way and you
yeah,
risked his life. Already past that, I don't want to say like he already probably has CTE, but like, come on now, two concussions in the span of like 4 or 5 weeks is not a good look. So
mhm,
you can't play him against New York. If they play him against New York, there needs to be some sort of discussion with the NFL and Miami or just everyone in the NFL because there's no way he should be playing in that game.
mhm.
Um, as for Tua, it's hard for me to say what I would do, but I mean like it's a very real discussion that needs to be had about like stepping away. I think that's
Yeah.
what's best for him, just for
For
his
the
long
long
health.
term, that's what's best.
And it's not like he can't still be around football. I feel like he could do, I haven't. heard a lot from Tua as far as personality wise. I don't know if he could do play by play or commentary like a lot of guys do, like Robert Griffin does, but he has a very more electric personality. Tom Brady has a deal lined up to do analysis. I don't know what he could do. I'm sure he could do something football related that's better for his health. So me personally, I think just knowing how dangerous CTE is, I would probably step away from the game. That's just me. Um, Obviously, it's millions of dollars, but I'm sure he can make
Is
that
it
up.
worth it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Shoot,
a
he could be
really
a high
sad.
school quarterback coach. Who knows?
Yeah, like there's a lot of things he could do. In this AFC East, we can stay with another team that has an interesting quarterback case, Mac Jones in New England.
Oh,
His case is a little weird because it's kind of like they don't have a good offensive coordinator, and it's also already very well known that Mac Jones he has a ceiling, but he also has a pretty high floor. It's like you're not going to be the worst team in the NFL with Mac Jones, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's just a solid, game manager quarterback, which isn't a bad thing. Um, for New England, what are you doing?
I mean, he's unhappy with the play calling.
Yeah,
That's
I would be
clear.
too.
He
They
said
have a
it himself.
defensive. They
And
have a defensive coordinator as
yeah,
their offensive coordinator, so it's kind of like it's a pretty terrible
yeah.
situation to be in. Like,
If I was Mac Jones, I would want out. And then I don't know why they drafted Bailey Zapp.
yeah, yeah,
I was
they're
kind of
just
thrown
like
off by that.
let's draft a quarterback.
And then didn't they start him for like two
Well,
games or
I think
something?
Mac Jones got hurt in a game, and then Bailey Zapp played good. And
Oh,
the next game, they started Bailey Zapp, and then they're like,
they
"Yeah,
put
no,
Mac back in. Yeah,
yeah." They're like, "This guy's really actually not that good." He had a good game, but no, he's
yeah,
actually not that good. I see why he was a 6th round quarterback prospect.
yeah.
Um, I think if
But I don't
I
know. I
think
think they keep him for now. Try and get him some weapons. See what he can
yeah,
do.
I think he's a fine guy. Like
Yeah,
they're also too good to the point where they're not going to get any of the top quarterback prospects. They're
yeah.
not going to get Will Levis. Definitely not getting Bryce Younger, CJ Stroud. Maybe Anthony Richardson if they want to take a chance on that guy, but he's not really a Belichick type of prospect, and he's not someone
Yeah.
who's ready to play. So I think Mac Jones is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots going into next season, unless they sign a free agent. Unless maybe Tom Brady goes back to New England. That
This
would be
year's
cool.
free agency class is quarterback heavy.
Yeah, they got Lamar, Tom if he doesn't retire, and then who
Derek
knows?
Carr,
Yeah, Derek Carr, who's not very good. Um, the only team in the AFC East, other than Buffalo, who has
Jets.
for sure like they need to do something at quarterback is New York. And it's not for the we need to keep this guy, it's for the we need to get rid of this guy. Mike White, Zach Wilson, not gonna work. You gotta find someone. I don't know who it is or what they're gonna do. Uh,
Oh, the Dolphins signed Mike Glennon this morning. My fault. Forgot
okay,
about
so
that.
Mike Glennon will
Yeah,
be the starting quarterback against the New York Jets. That's very reassuring now. I'm definitely changing my pick. I
Mike Glennon.
I got Mike Glennon and Tyreek Hill beating a top 10 Jets defense in a week 18 game. But yeah, for the Jets, you got to get rid of Zach Wilson. There's no way he's the starter.
For sure.
His confidence is shot, and he plays in New York. New Yorkers
Off
are
the
know
field
what they
drama.
need. Oh yeah, and
I don't know what they were thinking drafting him.
yeah, he I mean,
Like, do you know why his stock just suddenly rose?
I remember
They
his stock suddenly rising, but I was
no,
still someone who
it
was like,
rose because he made one good throw at pro day.
"Oh, I remember that. They were gassing up that one
Yeah,
throw for the
that one
longest
throw
time."
at pro day.
And they were
That's
like,
what hyped him up.
"Yeah, pro day. We're gonna say exactly."
Yeah,
When to me, I thought Justin Fields was clearly the number 2 quarterback.
yeah.
Clearly, Lawrence was Lance in that class too. It was
Lance was in
Lawrence,
that
Lance
class. Yeah,
Fields. I still was like Lawrence Fields, then maybe
mhm.
Lance. But obviously, Lance has really good upside, so they took Lance. I wasn't really mad about that. But Zach Wilson over Justin Fields, terrible pick. It's gonna go down as one of the worst picks. Maybe not ever because we still got to see how these other quarterbacks pan out. But
Mhm.
even if you didn't take a quarterback, there was value that was there, and they
Yeah.
made. And teams miss. It happens to the best drafting teams ever. But you got to address the situation because you have a playoff ready team. I feel like really good defense. Garrett Wilson has been a very
They need
good
to get that
receiver.
offense straight
They just got to
for
find.
that quarterback.
They got Brees Hall. They got
They have a
Zachary
good
Knight
running back room. They got
or
wait, what you
something
it's
Knight.
Z Z Z.
It's Z Knight, but he's very solid. He's also a rookie as well. They have a lot of guys on rookie contracts. So Zonovan Knight,
Zonovan.
Zonovan Knight,
Yeah, him. They also have James Robinson.
James Robinson. They
Um,
have a
Michael Carter.
very solid running back room.
Uh,
Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, all of these guys are young. They literally just need a quarterback, and they're not good enough to draft anyone this year, unfortunately. Um, again,
they're not
unless they
bad enough.
take a shot at like Anthony Richardson or something, but they're gonna have to go through free agency or trade. And I don't know who that would be, but I think we're both in consensus that Zach Wilson
Move on.
starting quarterback
Yeah.
next year. And Mike White shouldn't be either. He's been good for a backup,
Yes.
but he's a backup still. Moving down to the AFC West, Kansas City, Los Angeles, it's locked up.
Sad.
Denver, it's locked up, but not because of the players' play. It's just like they can't really trade Russell Wilson. It's not possible. Um, the only team that, has a quarterback controversy is the Raiders. Obviously, Jarrett Stidham
I'll
is the
voice my
starter.
opinion. Don't worry.
Derek Carr is gone, it seems like. Well, the situation with Derek Carr is that, he got an extension, but it doesn't kick in until February. So by February, they need to decide if they're going to cut him or if they're going to trade him or if he's going to be the quarterback because he has an extension that hasn't kicked in yet. What are you doing in that situation?
Cut him. He sucks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He hasn't been good. And I think the thing with a lot of quarterbacks is you stick with them
It's
until you
rough though because Devontae signed to the Raiders because of his best friend.
yeah, to be with Derek Carr. And now he's
Yeah.
about to be with I don't even know. I mean, you guys do have a good draft pick. I'm pretty
No, we
sure
don't. No,
oh,
we
you
don't.
guys no, you guys do. You guys still have your pick.
We don't.
Yeah, you
We
guys are
do.
at 8. You guys didn't trade it to Green Bay,
Oh.
which is
Oh, I thought we
crazy.
traded it to Green Bay.
No, you guys didn't trade it to Green Bay. You
Oh,
guys have your
okay.
pick. Oh, you guys did trade it first? I don't
Wait, so
believe it was this year.
did we trade the future like the next year then?
It has to be a first. You guys traded a first. I don't think it was this year though.
Because I know it was like multiple. Was it like multiple first? I thought.
Yeah, I know you
I
guys
thought
traded,
I could have sworn it was multiple first. Yeah.
but either way, you guys have the 8th pick. You guys are kind of in territory to maybe get a quarterback. I'm looking at the teams ahead of you that would draft a quarterback. Houston is going to take one. Indianapolis is probably going to take one. And then past that, Detroit and maybe Atlanta, if they're just like, yeah, Desmond Ritter is probably not going to work out, but they haven't really given him a fair amount of time before I would do that. So maybe you guys have a chance at a Will Levis or Will Levis. Maybe that's who's in Oakland next year. Are you looking at the draft? Are you looking at an established quarterback? What are you thinking?
I'm looking at the draft. We need to blow it up. Something. I mean, it's tough to say though because the only bright part of the team is Max Crosby. I don't want him to just rot in Vegas, you
Yeah.
know, because we pretty much got rid of that whole 21 class. It don't even matter who we picked because they're all bums. Wait, are they bums? They are.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys didn't
I can't even think of them off the
You
top of
guys,
my head.
I remember you guys'
Yeah.
first round pick was like the most insane reach ever. You guys drafted like Alex Leatherwood. He was like an O lineman who was not
Yeah.
projected to go in the first round. So
Exactly. He was projected to go in like the
the
third.
second and third, like
Yeah.
it was not a good pick, and
Yeah.
I don't think he played good either. So it was just like, yeah, you guys missed.
And then I think we also drafted Damon Arnett in that class. Not good.
Yeah, it's not been a good. Oh yeah, I think everyone in that class is not
Gone.
on the team anymore.
Yeah. We traded Jonathan Abram earlier in the. No, we didn't trade him. We waived him. Packers picked him up. He's gonna go to the playoffs.
And he could have been in Oakland, or Vegas, but
Yeah.
Raiders.
I don't. Well, is he gonna make the playoffs? We'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
if they win.
maybe.
Yeah.
Vegas has to, move on, I think. I don't think
It's that tough Raptors situation.
Raptors, like where you
Raptors.
guys are just kind of mid.
Yeah. No, not Wizards. They're
Wizards,
just kind of there.
just mid. Like there's no
Yeah.
clear future. There's no okay, this team can just tank because you guys signed so many guys and you're paying so many guys. Darren Waller got paid. Devontae got paid. Chandler Jones got paid for some reason and has not been good.
No, he was just injured.
Yeah, he's been injured.
He didn't
and
do anything.
when he is playing, he's not really doing much. But
Yeah.
um,
He got a pick six against the Patriots.
that's his season highlight is that
Season
one
highlight.
play. Yeah, I think you guys got to move on. That's all I'm gonna say on it.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has Joe Burrow, he's safe. Baltimore has Lamar Jackson. They either need to bring him back, or I guess they got to find a new quarterback. Cleveland has Deshaun Watson. That's safe because they did so much to get him there. The only team that kind of has some sort of talk is Kenny Pickett, but
I
like,
think keep him. But by the looks of it right now, they have no issues with him.
yeah, he's been okay. He hasn't been
Yeah.
the most elite talent
I
ever.
mean, he's definitely improved from the beginning of the season, though.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
he's been decent. He's been all right. He's not been, elite, but he's got them to the playoffs and maybe one off season, in Tomlin's, camp and all that will get him somewhere. But they're also not really in a position to draft a top quarterback. So, I think Kenny Pickett is probably the quarterback. AFC
Yeah.
South is probably the most interesting. Trevor Lawrence is staying. Tennessee, I don't think they draft a quarterback. I don't think they sign a quarterback. I think Tannehill comes back, but
They
it's like,
just keep Tannehill and then they draft talent.
yeah. Indianapolis is obviously looking to draft a quarterback. This whole bring in a veteran to just come in and start has not worked.
Bring in a
Yeah.
retirement home quarterback.
Jacoby Brissett was one. Then they brought in Philip Rivers. Then it was Carson Wentz, and now it's Matt Ryan, and none of them have worked out. Nick Foles too.
Mhm.
So they just bring in guys because they feel like they're a quarterback away, and then we're gonna be good. Like
Quarterbacks with rich histories.
yeah, it's like you guys got to find your guy, and they had their guy with Andrew Luck, and he
Yeah.
retired. So sucks.
Yeah.
And then obviously the team who's going to be taking a quarterback, Houston. No,
Texans.
they're taking Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is keeping Jalen Hurts. I would hope that'd be kind of crazy if they just let him go. Dallas is keeping Dak. New York is interesting because they
They
said,
keep him.
yeah, it said that they're gonna bring back Daniel Jones. I don't know if you have any strong feelings about this one way or the other, but I know that I've been kind of up and down with Daniel Jones, and I think as poorly as his past seasons have gone, I think this just goes to show, like what we've learned in Daniel Jones's rookie contract, is that he's not Josh Allen, he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Tom Brady, he's not going to be Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, any of those guys. He's going to be Mac Jones, he's going to be Alex Smith, he's going to be Joe Flacco at best. Like he's not going to be a ceiling raiser. He's just going to be a good, you know, floor raiser. He raises your floor.
He's
That's
definitely improved though from his past
yeah.
two seasons.
This is his
So
best
that's
season.
great.
He's also had better coaching, a better offensive line, and he's done it. He's played really well with no receivers like that. Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James are not guys who, anyone really was talking about before the season started. If you look at his stats this year, it's decent. It's all right. He's been pretty good this year. 3,000 yards, or no, that was his rookie year. 3,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Most notable thing, only 5 interceptions. He's limited the turnovers. He's playing within a system that's based on the run game, and he can do that really well. He's not gonna. I mean, he played it good against Indianapolis, but most nights he's not gonna win us a game. But it'll be really solid. We found our Alex Smith. We just got to determine what the ceiling is with Daniel Jones, and then once we've reached that ceiling and we've built a roster that's really good around him, let's go get our guy. And that's what's been done in other teams. Kansas City had Alex Smith, who I think is a good comparison for all those years, and then they were like, okay, this is all we can be with Alex Smith. Drafted Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, it was a good.
Developed him for a year
And
and
then
then
they
moved
were
on.
like, and then another team that did it. I'm trying to think. Um, San Francisco this year, they had Jimmy Garoppolo, got to the Super Bowl with him. They were like, okay, you know what? He has some limitations. We're not going to be able to win one with him. They drafted Trey Lance. Obviously, that situation's a little bit weird, but they still made a move to get their guy. That's what I think the Giants are looking to do. So that's where I'm at.
And
Washington,
it's the correct way to do it too.
yeah, it is.
It's working for the Chargers. They have that they banged that quarterback.
Yeah, like it's just I think it's gonna work out well for the Giants. For Washington, it's a little weird because they currently draft 14, so they're kind of a little bit farther out of the quarterback race again, unless they want to reach or take a Will Levis or Anthony Richardson or something like that.
I
Uh,
think they are going to take him though, just for the best available.
yeah, I think they're gonna take a quarterback in the draft. Realistically, I think like Heineke is fine as a backup, but as a starting quarterback, it's not gonna
He's
work
not
out.
a starter.
And then Carson Wentz is not really a good starter either. So let's see. That does it for the NFC East. NFC West, San Francisco is interesting. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. That's three
I
guys.
think they stay. They
You
keep.
think all three,
They
or
keep.
I think someone has to go. I don't think you
They
keep
could
three
try and they can trade Garoppolo for some value because I know there are teams that are looking for a quarterback
for a
that can
starting
be of that
quarterback.
value. Yeah,
Maybe
they can
Garoppolo
trade
to
him.
the Jets or something
Yeah,
like that.
they can definitely trade him there. Get a
So
pick out of
then
it. Who knows?
move forward with Purdy and Lance.
Yeah,
I
and
like
then they
that.
just battle it out to see who's a starter.
Yeah.
Because we've already seen what Garoppolo can do, what he can develop into. He's already developed.
Yeah,
He's Garoppolo,
I think Garoppolo would be perfect for a team like the Jets, where it's just like we have
a
everything around
quarterback
you.
away. Yeah,
You can just play good to a playoff spot. I don't think they're gonna win a Super Bowl, but he'll be stable. He can do what he can do.
besides, they have Robert Saleh there. He was coaching with
Yeah,
Shanahan
I
in
think
San
that
Fran.
it works
Yeah,
out perfectly if he goes to New York.
yeah.
Um, for Seattle, Gino is expiring, I'm pretty sure, but he's
Keep,
played so
keep,
well. I
keep,
think you got to
keep,
pay up.
keep, keep.
Keep Gino.
That 30
For
for
the
30 goes
Rams,
hard.
oh yeah, for the Rams, Matthew Stafford is under contract, so they can't really do anything. They don't have a pick, so
They also don't have any money.
yeah, so they don't really have a choice. Keep Matthew Stafford. Arizona is interesting because Kyler did get injured and he also didn't play spectacular this year. They're also having some coaching issues. I think Arizona still does keep Kyler Murray. Um, they do have a top 4 pick, but it would just be kind of weird if they took a quarterback with that pick.
I think
That's
they keep him because they drafted Kyler 1 at 19 class.
yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to draft a quarterback now.
And he's
Like,
been
if anything,
okay.
draft a
Other than
receiver.
this year,
I mean, I don't know. Who do you think they draft?
probably defense, I guess, like best available. They just take the talent. I don't think they reach for a position
Yeah.
with how bad they are. Like, I think they just take best available, which would probably be a defensive player at that point. Um,
hmm
I think that's everyone in the NFC North, right? Yeah, that's all of them. Or NFC West, my bad. NFC
NFC
North,
West. We need North and South now.
Vikings at Kirk Cousins. I think he's safe. He's like the most
Yeah.
average, like he's like borderline Pro Bowler, but like borderline get rid of this guy. Uh, Detroit is interesting because earlier in the year it was like, yeah, they're gonna probably get one of these top guys, but they've played so good as of late that they've kind of played themselves out of a
That's reliant to their run game. So I
yeah.
think they're going to draft some defense because they're lacking in that.
It's
And Aiden
also
Hutchinson is defensive player. I'm kidding.
it's also like really interesting because they do have the Rams pick. I forgot about the Rams pick. So they pick at 6 and they pick at 17. So let's assume Houston takes Bryce Young, Chicago doesn't take a quarterback, Seattle doesn't take a quarterback, Arizona probably doesn't take a quarterback. Indianapolis probably takes a quarterback, whether that's Will Levis or CJ Stroud. Detroit can get the remainder, the other guy, if they want to. Jared Goff has played good though, so it's kind of like
If they get Will Levis, they could do it, but I would much rather take defense because that is more of a need right now.
definitely a cornerback to team up with Jeff Okuda or something. There's other ways to do it. I don't think they're as needy to take a quarterback this year, although they do have the 2 picks and they can.
Don't sleep on Amarni or Laurier.
Yeah, they got dudes. They got dudes. Um, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like he's safe. I don't think they get rid of Aaron Rodgers, but the thing is, Aaron Rodgers might request a trade. So then it's kind of like,
Yeah.
is he safe from Aaron Rodgers' perspective? And in that situation, they're not really in a position to draft anyone. Um,
What pick did they have?
16.
Uh,
They're after all of the teams that would be drafting a quarterback,
yeah.
pretty much. Carolina, Vegas, Atlanta, Detroit,
I
Indy,
mean,
Houston.
if they do a trade, they could trade him away for something and then eventually sign someone in free agency, hoping someone falls.
Yeah,
But then that
maybe.
would be a tough situation.
And the roster is not amazing to the point where they could bring in some other quarterback and be just as good. Aaron Rodgers is a big part of that team.
He brings them up.
Yeah. Last team in the NFC North is Chicago. They're not drafting a
Keep
quarterback. Justin Fields has been really good as a runner, and then as a passer, he's getting there. NFC South is weird because literally all of these teams might need a quarterback. Saints need a quarterback. Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston not going to work out. Both of them are backup level quarterbacks. Carolina, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, whoever they got playing, no. Tampa Bay, Thomas, there's a lot of talks about him retiring. And even if he doesn't, he's a free agent. So it's kind of like not safe over there either. So I don't I can see all of these teams with a different starting quarterback next year. And then obviously Atlanta has Desmond Ritter, so it's like a rookie. I think,
They also have Peterman, but I still think I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they would draft the quarterback because they just drafted one last year, so there's no point in drafting another. Kind of.
Yeah, no. None of the teams
The
here.
Saints need cap space. That's an issue. They're
Yeah, they
broke.
don't have cap space, so that's like a big part.
When was the last time Mike Thomas played a game?
Ooh. I know he's been like consistently injured for the last
This
like
was going to be one of my New Year's resolutions. It was going to be for the Magic. It was to get Jonathan Isaac on the court.
get Michael Thomas on the field.
Oh my gosh.
Michael Thomas has played a whopping. He hasn't played since week. He hasn't played in a long time. He hasn't played since either week 3 or week 8.
Of this year?
Yes, of this year because
That's robbery.
it says he has stats for the first 3 weeks, but he has no stats from weeks 4 through 8. But they show up. But any game after that does not show up. So I wonder if that means he didn't play those games or he just didn't put up stats. So yeah, he hasn't played in a he hasn't
No,
either.
because if you're a receiver of that caliber and you don't put up stats,
That means you didn't play. There's no way he
yeah, that means
just
you didn't
didn't
play.
because it's like he didn't even get a target, and that's not possible. Like, yeah, no,
Yeah, he's
he
on the IR. Yeah, he's on the
yeah,
IR.
he hasn't played all year. So
Yeah, he played 3 games. That's it.
Saints need a quarterback, but Saints also need cap space, but they also are kind of out of the quarterback area to draft. So maybe a trade. Tampa is a little weird because it's kind of like they could just get a quarterback and go back to winning, but I don't know who they would get. And then Carolina needs to draft someone. And who's the other team?
Saints. Oh wait, you already said them.
Um,
Panthers?
no, I said Carolina. Carolina, Saints, Buccaneers, and Falcons.
Falcons.
Falcons have Ritter, so it's kind of like you can
Kind
kind
of
of
stuck with them.
see
Yeah.
see how it plays out next year. I think that's all the teams. I think we did all the. It's
We
just a
did
lot
all.
of teams that need quarterbacks this year, and there's not really a lot of quarterbacks to go around. So we'll see
I
how
mean,
things play out
it's a good quarterback class, so that's the thing too.
for draft and for free agency. There's a lot of
Yeah.
solid guys who can get. But I
Next
think
year though, Caleb Williams, he's gonna be an issue.
the demand I think outweighs the supply. There's not enough quality.
The quarterback inflation is crazy.
Yeah. But we'll see how it plays out. I think for the most part, we know where some guys are going to be, and then especially in the NFC, it's a little bit more like all of these teams could really have another quarterback if things play out a
Yeah.
certain way. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing that we didn't talk about that like was on schedule.
I think we got all of them.
Oh
Oh, go ahead.
no, you're good.
NFL referees.
Yeah, they've been bad this year. I think that's all I can say. They've just been
When Terry McLaurin checked if he was okay, and then they called him, what's it called? Illegal formation. I was like,
yeah.
bro, what?
There's been a lot of plays this year where it's been like a terrible, like bad calls. They had the Chase Claypool one against Miami where it was clearly a PI. In that same Giants game you're referring to, there was another that was clearly a PI. It's every year, so I just kind of I'm immune to it at this point. I'm just like the refs are never going to be that good ever, so I give up.
And then
Like,
basketball refs or NBA refs are just soft.
yeah. Talking to a fan and just getting a text like, yeah, refereeing
Bro,
is
ask for the ball
hard,
and he
but
gets
it's
a
like
tech.
refing is so hard when you like really think about it, but it's like at the same time, it's like, come on now. You know that wasn't a foul. You're crazy. Or that was a foul. But yeah, I think that concludes
Bro
season.
had the under.
I think that concludes. Oh yeah, the refs definitely be betting. I'll bet on it. I will bet on the refs betting. Like, there's no way sometimes like these refs are not playing. What's it called? FanDuel.
Parlays.
Yeah. he had a 6 leg parlay and he had an over under for James Harden free throws. So he was like, let me help him out a little bit. Um, but yeah,
Make sure he gets 15 this game.
I think that concludes season 2, episode 1 of the Poverty Franchise podcast. If you're listening on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all those, thanks for checking us out. You can watch all of the prior episodes on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, you can now listen to all of our future episodes on streaming services. Not to say that the videos or the episodes won't be on YouTube anymore. They still will be. It just, it diversifies our audience.
We're expanding our social networking.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But
we're
yeah,
expanding where we are as a brand.
we'll be back
So
next
you'll pretty much
Wednesday.
find everything on the link tree.
Yeah. We'll be back next Wednesday with more content. Yeah. So see you guys next Wednesday. I forgot how to end a recording. How do you end a recording? No. This is crazy. How do you literally end a recording? Oh.